Hey, everybody. Good morning. Happy Sunday morning. It is January 12th, 2025. My name is James Stewart. His name is Skaz. We are live for the Green Teamers podcast.
Live.
Live,
Bring it.
live.
Live.
It says on my clock counter that we've been live for 2 minutes, which is a problem because I did a couple swigs of morning drinking for the working man. We are here to talk about the Boston Celtics and the Kings beating the Celtics 114-97. I've got some thoughts on this game. I've got some thoughts on the Brandon Jennings versus Jason Tatum game. Skaz, I'll lead off with you because I need a swig of water because I'm dying.
Yeah, I would say probably the worst loss of the year for the Celtics, or at least right up there. I mean, a healthy squad, Kings coming in, not fully healthy without Fox at home. I know they just came back from a long road trip, but yeah, kind of I would say, small C concern is what we like to say, Jay Stu. No big C concern yet, but I thought it was a really ugly all-around effort. And I know effort's a thing we're going to get into. Some people say it's effort. Some people say it's not. Shots not falling, but things that stood out for me in that one, rebounding, number one, was huge. And Derek White and Jaylen Brown having 2 combined rebounds. It's just not good enough. They're great players. They're usually, high-intensity hustle guys. So I don't know if it was just some dead legs after a West Coast trip, a little, mid-season lull, whatever it was. But, yeah, that was a slight concern, I would say, on Friday.
So I've been small C concerned for a little bit. And it's not because of their effort, because I believe their effort is there. I believe this is the team that they have. And this ties into the Brandon Jennings thing. The NBA is soft. It's generally soft. So if you're just a little bit physical with the team, they'll ease up a little bit, or they won't respond how you like. But I think the Celtics' key problem right now is they're not making shots. And I get some numbers I want to dive into on this. But I disagree with Gary Washburn to a degree. And I'll read you the headline, and I'll read you some paragraphs that I picked out from his column yesterday, which was after the Kings game where the Celtics lost 114-97. The headline, and I bet Washburn writes the headline actually, outworked and unfocused, Celtics have slipped into being just another contender. The Kings worked harder and wanted to win more. This is reading from the story now. The Kings worked harder and wanted to win more than the Celtics. First game coming off the road trip is just an excuse. Kings missing their best player. I disagree with that. I don't think De'Aaron Fox is their best player. I think Sabonis is, and I would love Sabonis for a number of different reasons. The Kings hung close for the first 3 quarters, then trounced the Celtics in the fourth quarter. Continuing from Washburn, these Celtics are a flawed team that isn't making shots. I agree with that part. Getting stops or playing with focus they did last season. The Kings rallied from a 9-point deficit. And why am I so frog? This is my fault. And when rookie Devin Carter, playing in his 4th NBA game, nailed 2 open threes to begin the fourth, the Celtics were mentally done. I disagree with that. Carter wasn't supposed to hit those shots. Celtics weren't supposed to be trailing. The reality is nobody fears the Celtics anymore. I disagree with that one too. The lack of concentration, lack of focus, and supreme arrogance are turning the Celtics into a second-tier team. I have not felt like they've been arrogant this year. I feel like teams fear the Celtics, and they're playing their best games against the Celtics. I think the Celtics are not making their shots. I think the Celtics their adjustments are not coming in real time like they have been, where they kind of know what's coming. They can get into that first, second, third read. I don't think it's an effort issue. If it were an effort issue, Mazzulla would sit him on the bench. Like, Mazzulla doesn't put up with second-tier effort. At least I haven't seen it. Have you, Skaz?
No, I don't really think it's an effort thing either. And this brings us back to last week's episode, which no one heard, but where
Lost episode.
That exchange between Noah Dalzal and Mazzulla about how, effort and slumping, how it's viewed differently when it's offense and defense, and just how when the shots aren't going in, it's a slump. If your team's playing bad defense, there's a lack of effort. I agree with you that I don't think it's really an effort thing. I think they're slumping offensively. I think some guys are just, Brown's shot hasn't been good as of late. Holiday has struggled offensively. Horford only had 2 points again the other night. I mean, the Horford thing is, I don't know what to do with Horford. Coming off the bench, I get it. He's been good at it at times. It seems like there seems to be something isn't right there. I don't know, Jay Stu, if you think they should switch up the starting five in any way. Maybe Holiday coming off the bench is something me and Joe discussed the other night. But do you think they need an injection into the starting lineup or just a change at all?
No, I think I'll make the baseball comparison, right? Kevin Millar was in a slump. Coco Crisp was in a slump during the Red Sox championship runs. David Ortiz went through a slump. And Terry Francona kept with his veterans until the postseason where it's like, okay, now I have to make the move because they're not coming out of it. I think that's what you're going to see. You're going to see the biggest move is Holiday rests, Jaylen Brown rests. Players will rest. I don't see them making a starting lineup switch this season. Now, if you're talking about the offseason and the Celtics trade Porzingis, or they trade Holiday and Peyton Pritchard steps into the starting lineup, or they get a different big, like that I see. I don't see it happening during the regular season. Rest, yes. Starting lineup changes, no. I don't see it. Here's some math for you, because December 1st seems to be when the Celtics, no pun intended, got cold. Since December 1st, the Celtics are shooting 33% with their open three-point shots. Last year, for the year, they led the league at 38%. Last year, the Celtics had the third fewest regular season clutch games, whatever that means, because I didn't understand what it meant. It looked like a decent stat. The Pelicans and Mavs had fewer clutch games. That was New Orleans at 29, the Mavs, who we beat in the finals, 32, Celtics 33. And they were 21 and 12 in the NBA, fourth in the league. This season, they're tied for 11th for most clutch games. They're 11 and 7, which is the third best winning percentage in the NBA. The Cavs and OKC are better. So that's a good group to be aligned with. Fourth quarter shooting, open three-point shots since December 1st. Tatum, 37%. That's down from 39% last season. Jaylen Brown, 35%. Last season, 40%. Porzingis, 40%. Last season, he was at 34%. Sam Hauser, this season, 36%. Last season, 42%. Peyton Pritchard, this season, 33%. Last season, 36%. Derek White, 31% this season, shooting open threes in the fourth quarter. Last season, 40%. Drew Holiday, this season, since December 1st, 29% shooting in the fourth quarter. Last season, 44%. Al Horford, fourth quarter shooting since December 1st, 21%. Last season, the entire season, shooting in the fourth quarter, 33%. So that's where this team is. They are getting the same amount of open shots. They are just not missing them. And my eyeballs tell me that the basketball miles are catching up. The math is telling me they're just missing their open three-point shots. And I hate to be so simplistic and so simple about it, but that's how it looks. That's how it feels to me. And Mazzulla was asked, and I'm doing this kind of old school way, because the last time I tried to do video integrated in here, it didn't work. So I'm just going to play Mazzulla being asked about the offense putting pressure on the defense. I'm going to play it from my phone.
Issue, and why is the fourth quarter
How's that
becoming
sound?
such a troublesome stretch for you guys?
It works.
Yeah, I would say when you're having inefficient offense, it puts pressure on your defense, and so I don't think it's a long-term effort thing. I think you have you hold a team like that to a 19-point quarter and a 23-point quarter, and you have two 21-point quarters. I think that just wears on you, and so whether it's shot making, whether it's execution, whether it's spacing, I think that takes a toll on you. And then again, if you're going to shoot 28% from three, you're going to have to do a bunch of other things really, really, really well, and it puts pressure on your defense throughout the game. So we have to be better there. Mm-hmm.
Joe, it was even at the.
So this goes to your point, Skaz, about the 25-point quarters.
Yeah, this is a huge thing Mazzulla has been emphasizing all year. And I think it's one of those things where I almost wonder if they emphasize it so much that when they do allow 25 points in a quarter, they're like, oh no, we're reeling again. So it's something to just be wary of. Their defense hasn't been there. And Cameron, I'm going to butcher his last name, but he's all over Celtics Twitter. Cameron Tabatabai had a great thing that the Celtics are 8-7 in their last 15 games. We all know that. Very mediocre. But in that span, they rank 5th in offense and 4th in defense. So you'd say as a fan, okay, they're still in top 5 in both categories. It's 8 and 7. It's just a bad shooting slump. It's just, the bounces aren't going their way. But then when you dive into it further, he puts, but in fourth quarters during that span, and this goes to your point, to what Missoula just said, Boston ranks 8th in offense and 26th in total defense. So whatever's happening in that fourth quarter, effort, we say it's not effort. Are they just running out of legs? Like what is it? Is it the toll of playing too much basketball? I know you had some of that in your notes. Like, do you think that they're just, I mean, they're not old, but they've played more basketball than anyone else the last, I don't know, 2.5, 3 years.
And they're probably more banged up than we realize. Like, you see when they miss games, but how do they have nagging injuries? Are they just like Washburn discounts the days in between, but are they practicing? Are they practicing hard? Like, there are so many more details than just be like, oh, well, they had 2 days of rest. Did they though? Or are they working out? Is there a bang up injury? Like, there's stuff that we don't know about and we might never know about. But I think that they're just, this is them missing their shots. They're no longer setting record pace in offensive and defensive efficiency. They've come back to earth a little bit on that. And health is a reason. Them not making their shots is a reason. And as Missoula said, like, you miss shots, you get frustrated. Tatum's barking at the refs about it. Like, we get it. It's a little much. But that's kind of where I am, is that if those percentages aren't down, like Porzingis is up, but everybody else is down from their last season. If those percentages are up, then we're talking about a different story. And we're not talking about a near 500 last 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm glad you brought up the Tatum frustration thing, because I know this is something that upsets Celtics fans, or, they get, some Celtics fans hate that Tatum does it. Some like when he stands up for himself. But I thought Max had a good point on the broadcast on Friday night, where he said, Tatum was the only guy rebounding, really. We White and Brown had 2 between the both of them. Tatum had 12, Sabonis had 35 or whatever it was. But there was a point in the game, and it was right when the Kings started to go on that run. I think it was late third, early fourth, where Tatum doesn't get a call on one end. They come back down the other end, and just out of pure frustration, he just gives a foul just because he didn't get the call on the other end, and he's frustrated. And I think that's something that they still need to kind of get over. Enough with the refs. The refs do not impact games directly. I'm not a believer of that. When you're a team as good as the Celtics, you should never be relying on the refs at all. If you lose a game, it's because you shot 20% from 3, just like Joe Mazzulla said. So, yeah, my question for you, Jay Stu, is how do they fix it?
Oh, they're going to keep shooting, Skaz, because shooters shoot. You always shoot your shot, Skaz. You always shoot your shot, no matter what it is. And because eventually you're gonna make it. But that's their system. That's how they're built. They're built to keep shooting. And the adjustments aren't going to come until it's tight in a big game. And it might not come until the playoffs. Do you want to do some comments here? Because Andrew Sullivan actually brings up something. Let's put this in the show thing. Oh, hey, look. Hi, Andrew Sullivan. Thanks for waking up with us. He says there's no ball movement. The offense is just one guy dribbling and 4 guys standing around the 3-point line, waiting for the ball just to jack up a shot. It's basically unwatchable. So I don't think it's unwatchable. I think our adjustments to the NBA are just like the goal is, and I did this with one of our first episodes, is I explained like concepts. Like, I have a team's concept playbook. I've shown you this, Skaz. It's about 40 pages long about concepts and going from a 1-on-3 to a 3-on-1 concept. That's where the ball movement comes in. But the reason why, at least in the Celtics system, that they kind of pound the basketball into the ground is because they're going for that first read, that first reaction, and then what's the second action if they have that covered, because they don't want to kill the shot clock. They want to get as many 3-point attempts up there as possible. And that's kind of why there's like a little bit of a delay, because they're trying to read the defense so that they don't throw it in there. And sometimes they make the wrong read. And I think right now they're making a lot of wrong, incorrect reads on what the defense is showing. The defense is more physical. Teams' offenses are more physical. and they're missing their open shots. And I think that's why the Celtics are in the issue, are having the issues that they are.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Mike Vrabel just got hired, Jay Stu. So
oh, did they hire him?
Yeah, Diana Rossini just tweeted it. So a little breaking
There's
news.
the Adam Schefter.
There's a little breaking news for you right there, Mike Vrabel. I'm sure that makes our lives a lot easier for tomorrow. Start doing some show prep as soon as this is over.
Wow, multi-year contract. I hope they paid him.
Yeah, I'll be very interested to see the number. But just back to
Can I do one comment? One comment
absolutely.
real quick. So Share Bear says you're unwatchable and unheard of. So
Not the first time we've gotten that one.
Thank you so much for coming in and watching the live stream. Thank you so much for doing that.
The only thing I was going to say is Andrew Sullivan, the comment you brought up earlier, we get that a lot, sometimes at night too, and I'm sure you guys get it all the time in the afternoon. I mean, I know it, that the NBA is unwatchable, that they're just jacking up threes. One of the first episodes we did, I dove into this deeper, but the top 5 offenses in the NBA over the last 3 years ranked like Celtics were number 1 in 3-point percentage, but then after that, it was like 28th, 30th, 14th, and 16th. So of the top 5 offenses in the NBA, most of them don't shoot the number of threes the Celtics do. So it's one of these weird media takes where everyone says, they chuck too many threes, and now that's all anyone says. But the NBA is just about as good of a product as you could possibly want right now if you're an actual fan of watching basketball. But I don't think people actually like doing that. They just like to complain.
Well, and I also think that the evolution of how we watch sports is different now, because there used to be in the Boston area, it was Channel 2, Channel 3 was your video game VCR channel, Channel 4, 5, 7, 25, 27, TV 38, Channel 44, Channel 56, and then a few channels in the 60s. And I think that's where you had to watch the game. It's not like, oh, my phone will alert me when there's something important. So it's funny. It's what we've evolved into in our lives. So it's a little bit more, our attention spans are different any other way. Jason Tatum did have 8 turnovers in that Kings game. I'm not worried about it. I think Doug Christie just knew what was coming, and they had Sabonis, and they had size and length, and that's how they got him.
Doug Christie, he had his guys playing defense like Doug Christie used to do, which was, good to see. The Kings needed something. I'm surprised they've been as good as they have, but a good win for the Kings.
Kings are actually a good team, Skaz. That's the thing, is that the Western Conference is so loaded. Like, they're a good team, and I think the numbers bear out that they're better without DeAndre Fox, but
I wonder if he gets moved. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I could do a whole episode on fake DeAndre Fox trades.
De'Aaron. Before we get the comments,
same thing. It's like Von Gresham.
Right?
Yeah. That's my whole thing. That's just I liked Fox coming out of the draft, but he was helpful when it was all about him. Now it's all about Sabonis.
Yeah.
And Sabonis is actually, I learned more about Sabonis watching that Netflix series with him and Tatum and that whole group.
I thought
anything else.
He was really good in that. I thought. I know you got some like NBA fans who are like, why is Sabonis in this? But if you watch it, he's one of the best players in the league, and it's a really interesting story. His dad was a pro. His dad was like Wemby before Wemby almost, except he was jacked. So yeah.
All right. The other thing that I have on my agenda, Skaz, is the Jason Tatum versus Brandon Jennings. This was interesting. This was fascinating to me because. And I'll play this is Brandon Jennings on Gilbert Arenas' podcast. I'm doing it old school so that it actually works. So I'm just going to play the audio through my phone.
Why you didn't get finals MVP last year? Why you let your running mate do it? If you so tough, if you so honest.
You led in every category.
Why you didn't get it? Why you didn't get it? Yo, is he the softest ball? That ain't being crash out time. No,
my champion like that.
Hey, watching the game the other day when they lost to Cleveland. That was
with the capital or lowercase.
What do we know about Boston Celtics players? Like anybody that put on us Boston Celtics, like jersey from the 80s on up. Cutthroat, right?
Yeah. Who?
Oh, here's the they cutthroat.
No, they was not.
Cutthroat.
Them niggas doing the shimmy, chucking threes, doing this
Thank you.
shit. Does Tatum get punished because the Celtics squad is so good?
I just think his running mate Jaylen Brown is more like I'll be more afraid of Jaylen Brown than Jason Tatum.
Wow.
I love Tatum. I've been a Tatum fan, but watching him lately, it's not aggressive, bruh.
It's too quiet. It's too laid back. It's too laid back.
You know what
Tatum Brown gonna get to it.
Until your ass got out there and had to guard it. Yeah. Shit look cool till you got to guard it.
It's different.
Yeah.
All right. So Jason Tatum being soft, maybe. He might be. But the entire NBA league is soft. And I can go through some different numbers as to like, okay, if Jason Tatum's soft, that's fine because I'll give you some numbers that say, you know what, I'll take his softness. I think it was a podcast. There was another podcast where I saw the group of former NBA players being like, Steph Curry in our era wouldn't be the great shooter that he is because he's got an injury, and the physicality of that injury would take a toll on him, and he might be 18 point a game player because the physicality wouldn't let him get off all the 3-point shots. So I think the entire league might be soft, right? And here's some numbers to back up how, like, I don't know, I'll take this soft player. Jason Tatum currently, per Basketball Reference, number 5 in MVP voting behind Jokic, SGA, Towns, Giannis. That's fair, right? I think that's fair.
Yeah, I'm not a Towns guy, but yeah,
Towns,
I'll take it.
Jaylen Brown won the Finals MVP and the Conference Finals MVP because he had more impactful moments. We agree on that, right?
Yeah, I think Tatum was the more impactful player. Brown had more impactful moments.
Right? So it's moments versus strength of it, because Tatum for the playoffs in 19 games, 25 points per game, 10 rebounds, 6 assists. That's pretty good, right?
I'd take that.
That's pretty good. If we're redrafting 2017, he's the number 1 overall pick in the draft.
Yeah, it's
and
no
if
question.
If you base that draft on win share, Tatum 1, Jarrett Allen 2, Bam 3, Donovan Mitchell 4, John Collins 5, Derek White 6.
Wow, good for D White.
Right? Here's some records. You want some winning records? Giannis, Tatum's 22-20 against Giannis, including playoffs. Versus Embiid, 24-13, and that's 12-3 in the playoffs. Versus Luka, 10-6, 4-1 in the playoffs. Versus SGA, 4-3. Versus Anthony Edwards, 8-1. Versus Karl Anthony Towns, 9-1. Versus Jokic, 7-6. Versus Steph Curry, 9-10. He lost in the finals 4-2, but still that's a respectable record. Versus LeBron James, 10-10, 4-3 in the playoffs. Versus Kevin Durant, 11-8, 5-4 in playoffs. So if Jason Tatum's soft, I'll take him.
Yeah, I think the Tatum narrative is out of control. I think it's very funny how, opinionated people are on it one way or another. He's a top 5 player in the league. Is he soft? No, I don't think so. He went head to head with LeBron when he was a rookie. He's carried the teams, most points ever in a game 7 in the playoffs, 45 game 6 in Milwaukee on the road. Those are just some of the things he's done, which all, categorically not soft at all. So yeah, the Brandon Jennings thing, I don't really get it. I wonder, I don't want to say Brandon Jennings trying to stay relevant. He's an NBA, a solid NBA player that has a podcast. Maybe his podcast isn't doing that great and he's trying to get some clicks. But yeah, Jason Tatum is 50 times better than Brandon Jennings, 100 times better than Brandon Jennings. So for him, it's just, it's something Tatum has to deal with though. And, you see him post on Instagram about it. He's very aware. I like that he hasn't ignored it. I like that he's, I think a lot of times these guys try and, too cool for school, ignore it, yeah, whatever. But Tatum's very aware. He knows what's going on. Mazzulla was on our station saying that this is when you use a coin, one of the Joe Mazzulla fight coins. He said this is when Jason Tatum should get to use a coin. So his head coach is basically telling him to fight the guy, which I think is another wrinkle in the brilliance of the psycho that is Joe Mazzulla. So yeah, Brandon Jennings, good for you, bud. You got your clicks. You got a little story out of it. But Jason Tatum has a ring, and he'll be a top 50 player in NBA history. So I think they'll be telling his story a lot longer than they're telling yours.
All right. So the Mike Vrabel news has happened. People should probably focus their efforts on that. Skaz, do you have a final thought before we get out of here?
My final thought is I'm very interested to see Mike Vrabel's contract. The Celtics better beat the worst team in the NBA tonight by a handily margin. And yeah, Jay Stu, I know we both have busy days tomorrow now.
Yes,
with the
we
Mike Vrabel
do,
news
which
coming
is
through.
good.
So yeah, this was our first test run doing it live. Obviously, the Vrabel thing got sprung on us, so our viewers are a little all over the place. I'm sure people are tuning into the station to listen to that, but we'll try and do this more often. And we'll post it on Twitter. We'll make it known next time we're going live. This was kind of just a test run. Let's see what happens. We weren't even sure.
Soft opening.
A soft opening. There
Much
you go.
like the NBA, soft opening.
Yes,
I will say this, just my closing thought, and it's actually on Mike Vrabel. If they do hire Josh McDaniels, he might be titled offensive assistant rather than offensive coordinator. And that will tell you a story about who's paying his salary.
I hate it. Keep Josh McDaniels and his stupid visor away from my football team.
All right. So hopefully we'll be back next week, and we won't be interrupted by Patriots news. Thanks to the, I think we peaked out at 36 live viewers, but we'll kind of go from there. So
a Marcus Smart 36.
A Marcus Smart. There you go. There's a way to incorporate it. All right. Everybody enjoy the day of Mike Vrabel. Breaking news. He is the new head coach of the New England Patriots. We'll see what the money is. We'll see what the terms of contract is. My guess is Vrabel got everything he wanted. Until next week, happy basketballing, everybody.